Hi everyone, it's Sarah Lynn with Crafts Direct. I'm back with one more Easter card idea. This time I used a stencil, distress inks, and topped with some Lawn Fawn shimmer dust. Watch this video and I'll show you how I made it. We're going to start by cutting a piece of heavy white cardstock to 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. I used a little bit of washi tape in the corners of my cardstock just to hold it in place while we're stenciling. We're going to start stenciling by using the open, solid egg in the upper right-hand corner of the stencil. Because we're going to be stenciling all over this paper, I'm taping off parts of the other eggs so we don't accidentally get ink into that part of the stencil. I also put some washi tape along the edge of the stencil to hold it in place while we're using our brush. Once the washi tape is in place, I moved the stencil so the solid egg was in roughly the center of the white cardstock. Then we're going to start applying ink to the solid egg. I'm using Speckled Egg Distress Ink and one of my favorite tools, the blender brush. Keep applying more ink until you get the color that you like. Then gently remove your stencil and move the egg to a different part. Keep applying ink and moving the stencil around until your white cardstock is full of teal-colored eggs. I did as many full-size eggs as I could fit onto the cardstock, but made sure there was some along the edges as well. Whenever I'm using a messier technique with ink or paint, I love this non-stick mat. You just simply wipe up anything that's spilled on it, and it cleans up perfectly. Next, we're going to put some designs onto our solid-colored Easter eggs. I chose 3 different designs out of the stencil, and I'm masking off the eggs around it so I don't accidentally get ink in that part of the stencil. Once I have it masked off, I'm using the Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink and applying the light pink ink over the solid egg. Gently remove your stencil and apply to a different egg. I chose 3 different egg designs of the stencil, and I made sure to randomly apply them to the solid colored eggs on the cardstock. I didn't want any 2 designs to be right next to each other. Next, I didn't like all the empty space in between the eggs on my cardstock, so I taped off one of the little flowers in one of the egg designs, and I'm applying ink to that in between the eggs onto the cardstock. Next, I'm using the blender brush to distress the edge of the cardstock with the Tattered Rose ink. I start applying my ink onto the mat and work my way onto the cardstock. That way I feel like it has a smoother look. Next, we're going to give the front of our card a speckled shimmery look using the Lawn Fawn Liquid Stardust. Make sure to shake it up real good as the shimmer powder kind of falls to the bottom of the bottle. You just need a few drops into a dish and use a paintbrush to pick it up. Flick the top of your paintbrush so your cardstock is covered in little speckles of the stardust. Keep applying more until you get the look that you like. I just love the subtle sparkle that this adds to the front of our card. I'm going to apply a little bit of the Tattered Rose Distress ink onto a scrap of white cardstock. This is what I'm going to use to cut out the word Easter. Of our card needed just a little bit of dimension, so I'm cutting out the letters for the word Easter one more time out of a white foamy sheet. Then I'm going to use a liquid glue to adhere this cardstock letter onto the white foamy letter. I'm going to use one of the happy sentiments from the Happy 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 stamp set by Lawn Fawn. I'm going to use the Speckled Egg Distress ink to stamp it onto a scrap of white cardstock. Next, I'm going to use the Happy die cut to cut around the stamped word. I used a little piece of washi tape to hold the die in place while we're die cutting. Next, I'm going to use liquid glue to adhere the letters down to the front of the card. I laid out the letters just as I want it to look once glued down, and I started in the center letters and worked my way out. Next, I'm going to use a glue pen to adhere down the word happy above our Easter word. I like to use a glue pen better for these thin, small pieces. Next, I'm going to get out my craft card base and fold it in half. I'm going to use a tape runner to adhere our finished piece to the front of the card. Lastly, I'm going to wrap twine around the card base twice and tie into a bow towards the bottom of our card. Trim off any excess. And there you have it, a fun, shimmery, sparkly Easter egg card.
Thanks for watching and have a happy Easter. For more project ideas, go to craftsdirect.com/projects.